I'm going to be speaking to you guys tonight, but I'm also going to have an opportunity of you guys to kind of get in groups. I'm going to ask you some discussion questions. So there's going to be 3 different breaks, and during the breaks, during the discussion questions, you're going to have 4 or 5 minutes, and I'm kind of just going to pick a group and listen to you, kind of, listen to your ideas, and then share that with the rest of the group, and then share some more stories and ask more questions. So that's how the flow of this evening is going to go. Thank you for letting me be here this weekend. It's definitely been a blessing, and I'm grateful to have brothers and sisters in the Lord. And that's one thing I love about our church. Oh, I got louder. Is that you can go anywhere in the world, and you're going to find somebody who knows you. And so we're a family, and that's awesome. All of us are afraid of something. It can be we're afraid of commitment. We're afraid of trusting people. We're afraid of being honest with ourselves. We're afraid of being vulnerable. For me, there's many things I'm afraid of, but when I was younger, and I know I'm still young, but even younger than I am now, I was afraid of marriage. I was afraid of getting married. And this was because I had never seen what a good marriage looked like. It had never been modeled to me before. I come from a very dysfunctional family. And like I shared this morning, my parents divorced when I was 6 years old. And that time that they were together, there were some happy moments, but I don't necessarily always remember us. We did go to church, but I don't remember us really always, having that warm family vibe feeling in our household. After my parents divorced, like I said, my mom got in several different relationships and flopping back and forth and, just trying to find out who she was and just really kind of going through self-esteem issues. Both of them remarried, like I said, but then my stepdad, Kyle, who's no longer my stepdad, maybe I should say praise the Lord, maybe that's not appropriate, I don't know, it's kind of wrong, but he, like I said, he was heavy into drugs, so just the way he treated my mom and just their marriage, it was unhappy and it was unhealthy. And then my dad had also remarried to this other lady, and she was, their marriage just wasn't, it wasn't good. So not only in my immediate family did I not have a good image of what marriage was like, even the outside, there weren't any of my aunts or uncles who were happy in their marriage. I had an uncle, he was rich, he owned a funeral home, and everyone knew that he was cheating on my aunt, but she stayed with him because he had money, security. And then my grandpa, the only grandpa I knew, he ended up cheating on my grandma with a man. And so that was a devastating blow that hit the family, knowing that, it's one thing, cheating's bad enough, but finding out that your husband is a homosexual. So to me, marriage was always distorted. And I thought to myself, what's the point? What's the purpose of getting married? I have never seen anything, I have never seen marriage modeled in the correct way. And it wasn't until I got older about, actually, Mrs. Royal, for those of you who were here Sabbath morning, she was my 6th grade teacher, 5th and 6th grade teacher, who took a personal interest in me. And that was the first time I actually saw marriage modeled in a healthy way. And just the way that her and her husband Ray communicated with each other, the love and the respect that they had, and that community, that family bond. So that's the first time that marriage was actually really seen to me in a positive light. And then I got into high school. I went to academy. And my basketball coach, Teresa, she and her husband had a great marriage, and they had 3 wonderful kids. And I loved going to their house. Like, I wanted to go there and spend time because I'm like, wow, this is what a family looks like. This is how it should be. And the thing that I liked about Teresa and Chad is that they had the fun element in their marriage. Like, they were always jousting at each other and giving each other a hard time, but at the end of the day, and it was like healthy. It was it wasn't like, I hate you. It wasn't belittling or, being manipulative or controlling. So I I thought, man, they really love each other and they have so much fun. I like that. Maybe marriage isn't so bad. And their kids were pretty awesome too. Their daughter, Alyssa, was one of the bridesmaids in my wedding, and I have known her for such a long time. And then I also have my chaplain, my Bible teacher, Rick Meyer Peter, and he had a beautiful relationship with his wife. And he would always say in class, or we would always say, Pastor Rick, you're the best, we love you. He was one of those chaplains who he wasn't very strict. He never gave out homework, and you could goof off in his class. But we all loved him just because he, it was like Jesus was living inside of him. And we would always say, Pastor Rick, we love you, you're the best. And he would reply by saying, well, if you think I'm amazing, it's because of Tammy. That's what he would always say, his wife. And he says, I might be the head, but, she's the neck and she turns it. And so he would just always go on and on about his wife and how beautiful she was. So I started to get the sense that marriage can be a wonderful and healthy thing. And in fact, it doesn't have to be how the world presents it to be, because now nothing is sacred. You see it on TV, you hear it in the songs, nothing is sacred. And they almost make a mockery of marriage. And that's what I was kind of facing, that's what I was dealing with, and I was really, really scared until I saw it presented to me through people who really loved each other in their marriage. The reason why I'm sharing this story with you is because sometimes we equate God with negative feelings and opinions. Sometimes people's view of God is negative because they are watching how we act. Just like I had a negative view of marriage because of my family, it wasn't until it was modeled to me in the correct way that I understood that marriage was a gift from God, and He wanted it to be a holy bond where people could come to understand and come to a clearer understanding of who He is and how He works. But it wasn't until it was modeled to me by those people. And so there are many people in Christianity, they have a bad taste of God in their mouth. He's disgusting, he's sour, ugh, he's nasty. They want to spit Him out because they're looking at us Christians, myself included, and they're saying, if this God is so great, why are they acting this way? When the disciples were with Jesus during His ministry, Thomas says, Lord, show us the Father. And He said, if you have seen me, you have seen the Father. And Jesus obviously was a good representative of God. He was perfect. He got it right. He understood. Us, on the other hand, it's a little bit different. Actually, it's a lot different. And today, non-believers are looking at us and they're saying, okay, we've seen you. We have seen the Father. Now, this is the question that I want to ask you. Few Christians represent Christ the right way. What do you think that we can do as God's people to represent Him in a true and loving way? What do you think are some of those ways that we can minister so that Christ is not seen negatively? The next thing I want to talk about is hypocritical. Christians obviously are known as being hypocritical. In other words, they're saying one thing and they're doing another thing. And this leaves a very bad taste in non-believers' mouths. It's like, you know of some people who are at the club Friday night, having a good time, woo, yeah. They're like, and then like Sabbath morning, hallelujah, yes, praise God, He is so good. And, I'm not trying to say that they're not being sincere, because no one's perfect. The point I'm trying to make with that illustration is that, something doesn't match up. Something isn't right. We're saying one thing, we're bumping and grinding, we're getting low, all this stuff. And then Saturday morning at church, we're like, lift our holy hands in praise. Yes, Jesus, we love you. And people see this and they say, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. Christians are hypocritical. When I was a student here at Southern, I needed to find an off-campus job because I needed to be able to make more money than what a non-campus job besides campus safety. I wasn't about to go there. No offense there. It's just, I didn't want to. And somebody's got to do that job, and I respect them. It's hard. But so I was like, I'm going to get an off-campus job. And so I'm, in Chattanooga. And let me just say something real quick. Usually in most places you go, when you say, I'm a Seventh-day Adventist, they're like, oh, what's that? I don't know. I've never heard of that. But not here in Collegedale or Chattanooga. People know who Adventists are, okay? I don't have to go and, explain. They just know. Now, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? I don't know. Kind of figure it out for yourself. So I was trying to look for a job that would pay me more money. And so I finally found one, and I was telling the manager, Heath, who hired me, I said, well, I can't work on Friday nights or Saturdays. I was like, that's a deal breaker for me. If you're going to make me work, don't hire me, basically. It's not an option. And he said to me, well, I've had other Adventists work for me on Friday night and Sabbath. And I didn't know what to say. Honestly, I was stunned. I was like, this is awkward. What do you really say to that? Like, well, they're not really good Adventists. You can't say that. Well, our religion allows us to choose what we want to do. I'm not going to say stuff like that. I'm like, well, I'm sorry for them, but, I choose not to work on Friday night and Saturday. And, it's not because I just want a couple of days off because I want to do my own thing. It's a sacred day to me. It's a time, a 24-hour block where I can just really be in fellowship with God, friends, and family. But it was just, like I said, it was awkward, and I was flustered, and I didn't really know how to respond to that because I was like, wow, they actually know who Adventists are, and there's a lot, there's that inconsistency. So here you go. Here's the other question I want to ask you. What other inconsistencies do you see in the church, and what do you think we can do about it? You got that, Michael? I'll say it one more time. What other inconsistencies do you see in the church, and what do you think we can do about it? Has anyone out there read the book Unchristian at all? Anyone know? Did you like it? It's great, very eye-opener. I'm in the process of finishing it. I stole it from my husband. He loved it. I think he finished it in like a week. And basically what this book is talking about is they did research on people from the age of 16 to 29 and asked them questions about religion. This is Christians and non-Christians. And they came up with, surprising details through their study. And it was commissioned by the Fermi Project and conducted by the Barna Group. So, that's what the back of this book says, the Barna Group. Anyways, in this book, one of the questions that they asked on the poll, it said, what would you say are the 2 or 3 most important priorities for Christians to pursue in terms of their faith? So they're asking the Christians, what are the 2 or 3 most important priorities? And number 1 was 37% said lifestyle. That was the most important to them. Doing the right thing, being good, not sinning. The second one was discipleship. That was 31% compared to the 37%. Discipleship. Learning about Christ, learning about the Bible. And it gives some other ones, but I just wanted to share the first 2. But yeah, lifestyle was the one that was highest on the list, saying that that's the most important priority for a Christian to have. So in talking about hypocrisy, the Christians say, okay, lifestyle, it's very important to me. How we live, what we do, not sinning, basically what the book said. But if you flip over a couple of pages to page 53, they took another poll, and this was titled, Young Christians Do Things Their Way. And the busters are ages 23 to 41, and then the older busters are ages 42 and up. And they asked what % believe each is morally acceptable? So we're talking about lifestyle and hypocrisy. And they asked them, what % believe that this is morally acceptable? 59% believe that cohabitation is acceptable. And these are ages 23 to 41. Inconsistencies, hypocrisy. 58% believe that gambling is morally acceptable. 57% believe sexual thoughts or fantasies about someone is acceptable. And then it drops kind of significantly because we had 59%. Now it goes down to 44% believe that sex outside of marriage is okay. 37% believe that using profanity is okay. 35% believe that getting drunk is okay. And then I'm just going to read. They also believe that looking at pictures of nudity, so basically porn. 32% believe that abortions are fine. 28% believe that having a sexual relationship with someone of the same sex is okay. 16% believe that using drugs not prescribed for you. And 7%, and this was interesting to me, said allowing the F word on broadcast television. So 7% believe that. So here we have, they're saying, okay, lifestyle is very important to us. But when they took the poll, they found out that 60% believe that living together outside of marriage is okay. So there are these inconsistencies that we see in the church. And so non-believers are looking at us and they're saying, something doesn't add up, something doesn't make sense. And they also asked the Christians why they think that non-believers don't want to be in the church. And their answer was interesting. They said, well, non-believers don't want to be in the church. It's because they cannot uphold the moral standards. Now, doesn't that seem a little, don't you think Christians are kind of on their high horse when they say that? They can't uphold the moral standards. But that's not really the heart of the matter. It's not whether they can uphold moral standards. In fact, most non-believers don't want to be Christians because they are repulsed by us. That's the sad reality. Not because they can't uphold our standards. I know a lot of vegans who are not Adventists. Just come to Asheville. So it's not because they can't uphold the moral standards. It's because they are repulsed by us. So that's going to move on to our next thing. And that is, even though we are hypocrites, hypocrisy is not really the issue. I'm going to say that one more time. Even though we are hypocrites, hypocrisy, it's not really the issue. Because on the bigger scheme of things, we're all hypocrites. Non-Christian Christians, none of us are really going to do what we say. That's sin. So on the bigger scale, we are all hypocrites. What really rubs non-believers the wrong way, not the fact that we are hypocrites, but the fact that we have this moral superiority about us. That's the bottom line. This smugness. I'm so better than you. I'm a Pharisee. Why do you think that Jesus wanted to hang out with the pimps and the prostitutes and the tax collectors? They knew that they were sinners. They knew they needed physicians. So it's not the fact that we are hypocrites. I mean, that's a part of it, but the bigger part of it is the fact that we carry this moral superiority about us. Here's the question I want you to discuss. In what way do you think Christians are smug or carry this moral superiority about them? In what way do you think that Christians are smug? And the second question is, what do you think is the solution? In what way do you think Christians are smug, uppity, and what do you think the solution is? We're going to wrap things up here real quick. It's been real interesting hearing your conversations, and I hope that you continue to have these conversations and ask questions, because these are the kind of questions that help us move forward, I believe. These are the kind of questions that help us get out of that ditch and move forward. I heard some really, really good stuff. I don't want to go off on a tangent because I kind of need to stick to my notes. But, there are several reasons why we as Christians, specifically Adventists, are smug. Because we're the remnant church. We have the right message. And, no other church, they don't have the right message. And obviously, they think that they have the right message, or else they wouldn't be in that church. I mean, every church thinks that they're following the Bible clearly. So that's wrong for us to say, you're not understanding the Bible, because they wouldn't be in that religion if they didn't think that that's what the Bible believed, if they didn't think that the Bible preached on eternal hell and the Spirit ascending up to heaven. So, there are many reasons why Christians are smug, and it was nice to hear, your guys' comments. I believe the solution to that, I heard more of why we are smug. Did anyone get around to figure out what they think the solution is at all? Okay, good. I believe the solution, and there are many different solutions, but I believe the main one is transparency. Transparency. And that's something I think it's really hard for our church to do, me specifically. And maybe I'm not always so vulnerable, maybe I'm not always so open because I haven't seen what it looks like. If we're ever going to move forward in the church, if we're ever going to face these hard issues, we have to get it out there. We have to talk about it. We can't go, shh, shh, shh. Why are we afraid to talk about these things? And sometimes our transparency, we're not trying to be closed off and have this uppity attitude about us. Sometimes it's out of ignorance. At least for me it was. I had a good friend, and I noticed our friendship, it started slipping away. We weren't as strong. We weren't as connected as we used to be. And I had known her for such a long time, and I was talking to her, and I was like, I feel like we're slipping away. We're not close anymore. And she said something to me that rocked me to my core. I mean, I was just in my own world. I had no idea that she thought this way about me. And she is another Adventist Christian. She said, you know what, Jaela? When I look at your life, it seems like, you've got it all together. It seems like, you're the perfect little Christian, and that's obviously not true. But that's basically what she was saying. She's like, and then when I look at my life and all the mistakes I've made, all the things I've done, she says, it makes it hard for me to share what's going on in my life. She's like, I know you're not going to judge me, but she says, I wish that you would be more open with me. I wish that you would be more vulnerable with me. And I was just like, wow, I never even thought about that. Here it is, one of my best friends. And she felt this way towards me. I mean, it really, really hurt that she was saying that, and I wasn't intentionally doing it. And so now when I'm in conversation with her on the phone or I go and visit her, I'm very intentional about, even though I may not have done some of the things that she has done or made some of the same lifestyle choices, I try to be open and say, well, these are the things I'm struggling with. It may not be, depression. It may not be having sex outside of marriage, but I'm struggling with being conceited. I'm struggling with my pride. I'm struggling with being stubborn. I'm struggling with thinking I know everything. Okay, I'm not wrong. Or just the things that going on in my life. So I just try to be open and vulnerable and real with her. And that's what non-believers need to see. Because once again, it's not about being hypocritical. It's about our attitude. They wanna see that, when you're talking to them, you're sharing your experience and you're saying, I struggle with pornography every day. It's a battle. It's difficult. I struggle with having a good relationship with my friend or my husband or my wife. I struggle with being faithful, just being real and raw, because that's what the world needs, real and raw people. Saying, I understand where you're coming from. Not like, oh, I'm going to pray for you. Okay, I'm going to pray for you. I don't understand. That's not me. I'm perfect. That's not what they want to hear. They're being vulnerable. They want the same from you. So as Christians, we need to discuss things. We need to talk about it. We need to talk about abortion. We need to talk about sex. We need to talk about drugs, pornography, all these things. Don't be afraid. I mean, there's a tasteful way to go about it. Not just like lay all your dirty laundry on the floor and people are like, oh, okay, too much information. There's a way to go about it, to be tasteful. The last thing we want to do is sweep these things under the rug and not discuss it, because that's how we become closed off. So we need to be transparent. Put away the smugness and say, I'm listening. I don't have the answer. I'm not always right, but I'm here. And I'm going to be vulnerable with you too. And I'm not going to pretend like I have all the answers. I'm not here. I'm not a car salesman. I'm not trying to sell you Jesus. Get saved package. I'm just here because I love you. And that's what they need to see. So we've talked about a lot of things this weekend, wrapping it up and closing. And I hope that you have taken away a love for Christ and a love for your church. Like I said, I'm proud to be an Adventist. I'm not always proud of what we do. So taking away a deep love and knowledge for Christ, being proud, taking ownership of your church, but then tonight what we've been talking about is knowing that our church needs to move forward, not to stay stuck, but to move forward so that we can advance the gospel of Jesus Christ.